on day 3 in our 7 days and 7 ways to own your phone. We've been saying, does our phone own us, or do we actually own our phone? And what we're finding is that phones have this way of kind of intruding and almost making demands on us rather than us leveraging them as the tools that they were designed to be. So we're finding different ways to kind of help us reclaim ownership of our device.
Right. And in fairness to us, they're designed to be addictive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, you know, don't filter. And today, in particular, I think what we're talking about addresses that addictive part of things.
Sure. But amazingly, there's also these features built into the device that a lot of times we just don't take the time or put the thought around that actually can help us address that addiction and, again, just kind of reclaim ownership, become less distracted, be more intentional around the important things in life. So the idea, each day, just a little step over the course of a week can lead to some big changes.
Invest a few minutes today on this step, and you're going to see dividends for a long time.
Right. So speaking of today, this step.
All right. So yeah, we're talking today about deleting and rearranging the apps on your phone. And that may not seem like a big deal, and yet it really can make a difference.
Admittedly, Neil, you're a lot further ahead in this one than I am. I've done the purge part of that process of just kind of going through and deleting a lot of my apps, but I haven't gotten them rearranged, so that'll be my application step today also.
Well, why don't you talk about deleting?
Okay, yeah, so just recognizing that I will add apps over time and then never delete them.
Right.
And so just pages, of apps on my phone, some that I use that are intermixed with the ones that I've never used that I just tried at one point, a game or 2 or 3 or 4 that my kids have downloaded at a weak moment, can I get this one, Yeah. And so just kind of going through and deleting apps that I either don't use, and just know they're just taking up space and cluttering up my phone.
Don't need it.
But then kind of going a step further than that, right? Kind of cutting a little bit further. And you've got some great ideas, like some questions maybe to ask if there's like a first cut, basically.
Yeah.
That's easy, right? But then maybe going back through the app pages and...
Once you've done the obvious ones, then maybe dig a little deeper and ask yourself, do I really need this? Like, is this something that I need? That it's very functional in my life, or I really enjoy it, really help you process like, okay, yeah, I've got this, but do I need it? And remembering that if you realize later that you did need it, you can always download it again. It's not the end of the world with most apps. So, and then a second follow-up question to that, maybe to even, bring greater clarity, would be, does this make my life easier in some way?
Again, because it's great that this can be a tool of use.
Yes.
And there are some definite, uses of apps that are used now in commerce a lot more, and of course maps and all those kinds of things that do really
do.
Increase efficiency and just, makes life a little bit easier. So what I would suggest is maybe doing just that, like a first cut, and then going back and doing a second cut, cutting a little more surgery, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little more painful, but worth it in the long run. And like you said, worst case scenario, live without it for a week. If you find, oh man, I need that, go back in, it just re-downloads. Yeah.
Yep. And, and this is something we had said too, like we may want to start scheduling this into like a monthly routine, because the truth is you keep adding apps at some point. Like, oh, I need this app, or I've got to get this. Well, it's good just to maybe schedule.
Yeah.
Okay,
like when you change the air filter every quarter, go through your apps.
There you go.
Oil change. While you're waiting to get your oil changed,
go through your apps.
Go through your apps. Like habit stack, link it to something else you already do. So this is an easy one. You probably already know how to do it, but just in case, here's what it looks like on your screen. Okay, so we're cleaning up our phone and considering what apps we might just delete. So let's find an app here. How about Tetris? Clearly we are kids of the 90s with the Tetris game on our phone, but we're going to go ahead and eliminate that. So to delete an app, you can simply just kind of press down and a menu screen pops up here, and then you actually can just go remove app. It's going to ask you to confirm that decision, delete app, delete, and there it is. It's gone. It's cleaned off your phone. All right, so once we've deleted, kind of cleaned out our apps, and again, this is where I've gone through that step, but then you kind of have taken a step further and inspired me to do the same thing. It's kind of a part B of the process today, is kind of organizing them or rearranging them. So talk a little bit about some ideas of how to do that.
Sure, and everyone's going to do this a little different because we're all a little different. But I guess I always thought because they're all orderly on there, like what's the big deal, But I've been amazed at what a difference it's made. Like I just tried to really get intentional with making my first screen, like what we call that, the home screen. It's like your first screen with apps on it, as simple as possible. And so what I did is I only allowed myself one row of apps at the top of that. Of course, you've got the little dock at the bottom, and I've got 3 in it. So on that first page, I've just got 7, and it looks neat. It's just one row, and that's it. And I've got this beautiful picture that I put for my wallpaper or whatever, on the phone, and so it's just a really pleasant place to be.
You've been showing your screen off in these videos the last few days. People know how clean it is. You don't have to rub it in.
And then the other thing was like sticking them in folders, and folders sometimes in the past have gotten on my nerves, but now I actually, because I've done more of them, like there's not as many apps vying for my attention now because they're all so tiny in that little box. And if I need them, I can look for them, or I can search for them. They don't have to be staring me in the face all the time.
And that is a tip that is in a book called Indistractable, actually, as well. Kind of layering your app pages, so that first home page, like you're talking about, home screen, kind of being those essential tools.
Yeah, the ones you need every day, all the time.
Keep those more minimal. And then it kind of maybe goes in descending order of use or value. But then also the idea that there may be some apps on your phone that you're going to keep after your clean out, but they are distracting or addicting. So put those on the back page.
Back page in a folder.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. A little harder to get to.
Yep.
A little less out of sight.
Yep. And I can run through just briefly. You'll let you look at my
Definitely
phone.
help us see how to set up a file and that kind of thing.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so we are rearranging apps here, and similar to what Andrew showed you with deleting apps, if you just press on one, it'll give you some options. One of those is to edit your home screen. So edit it, and everything starts jiggling around here. So you'll also notice a bunch of minus signs. So if in the process of rearranging apps, you're like, you know what, I don't need it. Or you're just wanting to delete a whole bunch of apps. It's a fast way just to go around deleting stuff. But you can also drag and drop things. So maybe I want my weather app over here. Or maybe I want it on this second page. I can drop it there. Maybe I want it back over there, but in a folder with Safari. So I just drag it on top of Safari, and it creates this little folder. Now, sometimes I've run into trouble if it's like right on the edge and I have to kind of rearrange my apps to be able to drag and drop things like I want to. So just play around with it if it's giving you trouble. But so you can rearrange all different ways. So again, I kind of dug deep on this one. I tapped again and everything stopped. So this is my home screen. This is my first screen. I've got my messages, my phone, and I've got 2 apps I want to use more. And then I've got these just purely functional things down there, timer, calendar, maps. On the next screen is like the stuff that I use fairly often, and it's not particularly like addictive things or anything like that, grocery app, things like that, photos, and then a whole bunch of things I just stuck into folders that maybe I use a little less often, or they're all just of the same kind, so I just put them all in there. And on the back page, I've got the stuff that I'm wanting to spend less time with, or I just do spend less time with, but I still want them on there for whatever reason. And so I group those into folders as well. And again, by having them in those folders, you can see, like, it's not like these up here where you can, it's like staring you in the face, looking appealing or whatever. They're much smaller, and you can still find them easily. You can go over here to your app library, and it pulls them up like this. I haven't really played around with that a lot, but lets you search in there. Or you can pull down and search for apps here. And Siri will often suggest apps, and I'm surprised at how good she is at suggesting, because she'll suggest something you've just been using recently, or something that you tend to use at this time of day, and I'm surprised at how often, like, I'll pull down and she knows which app I need. It's a little spooky, but that's an option too. So yeah, I like it all cleaned up, and I can see my wallpaper image that I chose because I thought it was neat. Reminds me of my old hometown mountains. And so find a picture you like and get your phone rearranged and cleared up so that you can actually enjoy it, and it's a breath of fresh air when you get on there. Well, that wraps it up for day 3. So glad you could join us. We'll be right back here tomorrow with another way to own your phone.
Tomorrow, wearing the same clothes.
Yep.